So at the beginning of my career as an entrepreneur, I endured a 3-year training program designed to help me harness my hustle. Anyone who has felt the call of the hustle knows it can be invigorating, but also scattered and frantic and undirected. You hustle over here and then you get distracted and then you hustle on over there. And then by the time you get to the end of the day or the week or the year, you just have a whole lot of hustle, but not much to show for it. But I had this training. The training program I experienced was run by a dynamic duo, a young man and woman. The tactics they used, like sleep deprivation and physical exhaustion, were extreme and, looking back, questionable. And yet, their training was the single greatest key to my eventual entrepreneurial success. And while the program may not be available to everyone, the lessons I learned as a result are applicable to anyone who wants to focus their hustle for better results. The program? Motherhood. It was July of 2010 when, after months of planning, I approached my boss and let him know I would be leaving my position and starting my own thing. It was thrilling and terrifying at the same time. And a week after I quit, 1 week, we found out we were pregnant with our first child, which meant not only was I going to be a brand new entrepreneur, I was also going to be a stay-at-home first-time mom to a son and shortly thereafter a daughter. And so the training program began. I hustled for my dream in the morning before the babies were awake while they napped, and if I wasn't too exhausted after they went to sleep at night. With only these small windows of time to work with, sound familiar right now? Anyone? Success was much less about the quantity of the grind, and it was all about the quality. I worked like a mother. So here are 5 things that training taught me that has helped me focus and harness my hustle ever since, especially right now, and can help you no matter who you are. Number 1, work it backwards. Like any entrepreneur, I had some very specific financial goals. Specificity in finances are an important thing, and I wanted to achieve these goals. I also had a limited amount of time to commit to the actions that would generate the income. Therefore, I'm sure, much to the surprise of my 7th grade geometry teacher, I did the math. I determined what I wanted to make in a year and divided it by what I estimated my work generated per hour to get the number of hours I would need to work that year. So, for example, if you want to make $100,000 a year and value your work at roughly $100 an hour, you need to work 1,000 hours a year. Equipped with that number, you can make your plan. All right, number 2, make it visible. Once you have the number of hours you need to work to achieve your goal, schedule your weeks in a way that makes it easy to see. I put mine on my calendar. Get up an hour before everyone else, 5 hours per week. Work during naps, 7 hours per week. Stay up 1 hour after bedtime, 5 hours per week. Sneak off to a coffee shop on Saturday mornings, 3 hours per week. Whatever you do, make your schedule visible to you so you can hold yourself accountable and to any of the other stakeholders that are going to be a part of this equation too. Number 3, do what matters most. Determining what work you will do in those focused hours is perhaps the most important part of the training. When it was time for one of my scheduled hours of focused hustle, I didn't waste it on social media, God forbid, or sending logistics emails. I spent that hour on what mattered most for my business. At the time, it was creating content and sales outreach and nothing else. It's pretty much what it still is. If this distraction did creep into one of my sacred hours, I couldn't claim it as a work hour. I'd have to find another hour somewhere in my week to make up for it. Number 4, set a timer. Because sometimes focusing on the hard part of the hustle doesn't always equate to immediate results. It's best when focused hustle can be measured in time input versus financial output. So to keep your sanity, set a timer for each hour so you know that you are putting in the work. And number 5, celebrate. Results aren't always obvious. And when you're working on a limited time, then at the end of some weeks, it's easy to feel like you failed, to think you didn't do as much as you could have or as much as you should have. I learned in my motherhood / entrepreneurial training, intensive training, that focused work itself was worth celebrating. Just that, celebrating focused work. And then each week I could greet each week with hope for what was possible. Now, it's been several years since I graduated from the training program. Once they were potty trained, my social kiddos were thrilled to head off to preschool for a few hours each day, and I was thrilled to have time all to myself. And while my business looks a lot different now than it did 10 years ago, the system for focused hustle remains my main method of operation, and thank God. Because not that long ago, after my kids had been away at school, suddenly they were back at home. And this training that I thought had been completed started all over again, finding time to work and achieve my dreams in the hours before my now 2nd and 3rd grader wake up and the hours after they fall asleep and I'm not watching Tiger King. My hope for you is that these 5 strategies that I learned so long ago will be valuable to you just as they are to me right now. Because let's face it, sometimes the hustle can mess with your head. And focusing that hustle, feeling like you have some control over that hustle is perhaps the most important entrepreneurial lesson of all.